Can you discuss your view of couples or relationships?
They look good together. Yeah. They look good together. Sometimes they don't. Right? Worst combinations. No, okay, go ahead.
Is being in a relationship at odds with spiritual practice?
Well, some peeps. I think I've mentioned in the earlier talk, you got to start with yourself, and you go to other, and then you expand from there. Yeah. Now, of course, if you don't have let's say, a karma of self in the same way as others, then you may not need peeps in the same way. Yeah. Really depends on how you're designed, basically, and then that determines what kind of theory you need put over your head, put into your head, to help you to see or be or move beyond whatever condition is that you're experiencing as an individual. So often the evolutionary process includes that you want to settle down, you gravitate towards somebody, sometimes conversation, is struck up somewhere, on a bus, in a cafeteria, in a movie house, or somewhere, restaurant. And then that leads to, more interesting conversation, curiosity and interest. And really what we're talking about is, karma. Karma pulls you in. Somebody else's karma pulls you into itself. Or you pull somebody into your karma. So it appears. And so then relations are then based upon what we'd say is correspondence, some kind of affinity or mutual reality. But it's just karma. It's just karma. Maybe that means complication. Maybe that means interference. Maybe that means unwanted influences at some point. Maybe it means necessary influence, in the moment when it shows up. It usually means bondage. You want bondage, so you're going to be bound to somebody else. And then for others, it means an opportunity to serve. So there's two sides to it. Everything has two sides. We have to get beyond that, of course. You have to transcend dualism. But everything has dual properties. Yin yang, let's say, aspect of the universe, atoms, positive, negative poles, and so on and so forth. Bright side, dark side, night and day, say, male, female, and so on and so forth. So you got two sides to everything.
So would you say then it's some sort of magnetic attraction between people?
Well, let's say it's a karmic attraction. It's not necessarily magnetic. It could be electro, which means it's an apparent, obvious, let's say, magnetic or magnetism or gravitation towards the object, but it could be disastrous. It could be like two planets drawn to each other. See, and what the result is disaster, like two galaxies in collision. See, so we don't know what's being collided here. When you come together with somebody, it's a collision. See, that's why relationships that considered marriages, when you have complete sort of merging with the other person, they end up on the streets or in the courts. Because we're not designed to be, particularly, we're not designed to be in bondage. See, some bondages or agreements are conducive to certain karmas and experience, so we want to learn what we can from the experience, and sometimes that's the price you pay. It's too much bondage, say, frustration, unhappiness, say, slavery, conditional slavery, relational slavery, see, and hell, and sometimes happiness, say, heaven, in some cases, but not always. For reasons you thought it should be heavenly, or it should have been, or could have been hellish. Say. It just happens that way. So it's a mystery. You have to go forward, and then see what it brings out in you that is good or not, or in the other person that is good or not. Or maybe something in between, good or bad.
So, while it's obvious relationships can create karma, can they also...
That's what they are. So they are creating karma. at every second of the process.
And do they also free people of karmas or release karmas?
Well, creating karma could also be, that is taking some karma on, could also be exactly what a person needs, up to a point. And I think often what we see here, especially in long-term relationships, when they are idealistic, and they feel, no, we have to be together because we are married by God. We died by God, but we're married by God, and you're going to die by God. Right? Everything's going to be by God. Right? And you're going to suffer by God. So you're married by God to suffer by God, whatever you want to call it, as a witness. Right? And then you have to part by God. See? And then you have the phrase, till death do we part, or maybe we will never part. And, it's not up to anybody. But these are like ego games that are played to control and possess and maybe even manipulate the souls of other beings. And there's no God that makes any sense to me that is all about that. The liberation God, I like the liberation God, I like that. Awakenment, enlightenment God, love that. The enlightenment God, I like that story, that fantasy. I like that one. That's great, fantastic. The fantastic, I like the fantastic God. Right, the fantastic God. The very, very ultra positive God, I like that. And happiness God, the laughing God, I like the laughing God. That sort of thing. The peaceful, happy God. That might be unrealistic, because there may not be such a thing, but we experience it. So then you start out with this relationship, which could be, very, very positive, productive, necessary, say, step for a person, but that's all it is a step. Everybody that shows up is a step. Everything you do is just one more step. And then you have many other steps you have to take, for and against, whatever it is. Take a step for the family, you have to take a step away from the family. They're all steps. Then you have to pass over, and then you really leave the family and the world altogether, and maybe, if you're lucky, move on to another world. If you're not so lucky, then maybe you have to stick around and sort of like haunt peeps. You got to get your haunting papers, right? Say, hey, your haunting papers are coming soon. You are designated to haunt this house for 10 years. Part of your payment. Oh, okay, good. I can do that.
And does haunting, in a sense, go on in the form of commitment and staying for too long?
Oh, you'll find out, because it's all part of the haunting, see. That is to say, it's all echoing the past. See? Every relationship you have is echoing the past and is a payment for something in the past. See? That doesn't mean it has to be long-lived. If you're sharp and you're intelligent and say, oh, I see this is this kind of thing from the past, done it, did it, done it, can't do it again, won't go down this path again. Because you see more than the appearance and what's glamorous about the relationship. Okay? Because we're duped into relations because of what they appear to be, not what they are. We find out what they are later on, and we don't always like that. We find out that the other person is a human being, and they're full of problems and complications and complexes and neuroses and all the rest of that. And then we say, well, that's not mine. I'm taking care of mine. I don't have a need for sucking on that kind of stuff anymore. Then it's time to move. Because you can say that your God wants you to be in hell, so you're in certain relations that are hell. And then you can say maybe the same God would like to see you in something other than that as well. Right? That makes more sense. We're talking about happiness. Here, it's not about misery. Unless you make it and you feel that's what your appetite is for. That's your ideal, is to be in misery. Then you're on the right planet. There's a lot of misery here, if you look for it. A lot of people who don't want to change, a lot of people who are stuck in darker worlds, so imprisoned in dark worlds, and that's all they know. They come from a lower world, so they come here and they coexist with other peeps from the viewpoint of the lower world. They don't see it as a purgatory, which is what it is, to step up and move on to a whole other level of consciousness. See, people aren't smart enough to come together to say, listen, we're getting married now, but we know this is temporary. Let's not pretend. Let's not BS each other. So this is going to be the way it is forever. Just me and you, baby. Forever. In the universe. It's you and I. Now, it could last, but we're not designed to just be one like that, limited in that sense. For some people it's perfect, but that's their step. See, that's their step to the infinite, step back to the God, see, the real God, see, the heart God, love, see, going back to that. It has nothing to do with anybody, or familiarity, nothing to do with that. It's the glue of the universe, and creation and nature.
So would the aspiration be to make the relationship less about the payments for the past and the focus on the future?
Well, don't think about any focus on the future. You better take care of the now. The now always takes care of the future. There's no future, really. See, if that happens, there's no future. You're only in the now, so now's the only reality here. See? So there's no future as far as that goes. I mean, it happens. See? It's an imaginary factor right now. It's not present. See? You know, unless you can create, by way of your intelligence, exactly what it is, you can say where you're going to be, with whom you're going to be, under what conditions in the future, which is a completely controlling situation. And then that comes to pass. If you did it every few years and you proved that you could do it, you write a letter saying, at this date I'm going to be here and do it. If you want to live by that kind of code, you can do that. See? But we're really here to appreciate the universe, not just another object. See? Yeah, we're here for the universe. We're here for the whole totality of what life is. Not that we have the capacity to do that necessarily, but we're here for the universe. Yeah? We're not here just to be victimized by or vulnerable to forces, unseen or seen, right? Which serve in our creation and serve in our sustenance and maintenance. Right? There's a part of us that is really part of the heart of everything at the same time. Right there, the source of it. You know, Jesus said the kingdom within. I think he's talking about spiritual. Yeah. Spiritual, it's right there. And that means the complete is right there. That means beyond other. That means that you are, in fact, beyond other. If the kingdom is within you, it's like saying, don't go outside and try and find it. It's not in somebody else. It's in you. So if you take that to the bank, if you take that to heart, you don't need anything else. But you choose to want somebody else and something else, so there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're controlled by that, then it might be a question. See, then we're talking slavery and bondage, which may or may not be useful to your spiritual or creative health.
So how does one know what conditions to weather together and which conditions mean are...
Well, you have to judge from your own system, your own value system. You have to judge, well, what feels good to you and what is good. I'm not talking about sexual play, because that's off the map, because that always feels good to the animals, to insects, right, to the birds, the bees, the cows, the horses, the lions, the tigers, all the creatures have to go through their little moment of, let's say, conjugal bliss, let's say, right? Right. Their moment of appropriate natural functioning, see? In terms of why your bodies really come together in a creative sense. See? That's it for Congress. Anything else is like, maybe doesn't count in a manner of speaking. It's just maybe wasting, wasting. That is, being fruitless. Unless you're together to work something. See? You come together with a mission, is maybe useful. You come together with the same ideas, more useful. If you're together with different ideas, maybe not so useful in all cases. So you have to have the same, but anything that's going to contribute to conflict, it's going to grate against you, you're not going to have any peace, you're not going to feel comfortable. You can't let go in that environment. It's hard to. Now some people need that before they find that point where they had enough of the stress. And they say, no, all right, I feel done with that. That's done, finished. Shut the door on that. Now I want to be part of the peaceful side of nature, the heart side, not the mental or the grind side, the sexual side, the creative side, the conflict side. Say, now, enough of the grind center. I need to grow. I don't need to grind, I need to be growing into peace. And baby, that means you can be a part of this because everybody's a part of this. Everything is a part of this. It's more just less you and I and more what it is already. What the heart is. Not what our faces are about and what our budgets are about and what our egos are about and what our wallets are about and what our clothes are about, what our history is about, what our culture is about. No, it's about the whole thing now. Now it's consciousness. Now it's the heart, awareness. You know. Huge. Right? The real fantastic. I know, wow, that's mad. Exactly. Right? It's the madness of love as a heart presence, as heartness, heartfulness. Yeah. It's no longer egocentric, it's heart-centric. And that's very, very different now. People come together and say, this is what we're working towards, more heart-centric realization of life, or compassion, no, same thing. So be compassionate servants of humanity, perfect. Whatever that means, it's a great ideal. Because you use humanity, it's not perfect servants of each other's egos, which is not bad either. Maybe that's a step in the right direction.
So can relationships, let's say, get beyond the romantic and continue from another basis?
Well, the romantic is frictional. That's frictional. It's romantic. That's in the beginning. So you're talking about forces, right? Desire forces, magnetic forces. Sometimes that's what gets your attention. Sometimes that can work to bring you into resonance. It's like a program, right? You know, like smelling roses, you know, smelling flowers, smelling a garden. Yeah, oh, you want more. And so you're sniffing. You want more to sniff. You want more to sniff. Because it smells so sweet, right? Feels so good. Like candy. There's no problem with that. It's a lure. It's seductive. Lure. Draws you in and pulls you in. And you got to figure out, well, what then does that have to do with you, the universe? And besides, you know, impose itself upon you. Say, okay, now I'm in the middle of the garden. Now what do I do with this? So yeah, it smells good, but I'm tired of smelling it. Now it's starting to stink. In fact, this stinks, and I'm out of here. Right? That's when it's time to go, when you're repulsed by it. Sometimes it takes a longer period of, let's say, experience before the repulsion comes in. But the repulsion is like our waste system. See, it's part of our process. We have to get tired. We have to release things. See, remember, you were born as a result of the experience of being expelled by the mother, ordinarily. Right? She rejects you, ejects you, rejects you, as part of her body, ejects you into the world, and you're on your own, kid. And you're on your own even if you came out with a twin, an identical twin, which is like the ultimate partner, right? The person is you practically. Okay? But you don't necessarily always only have to be, you know, limited to what that other says or feels or is going through, because you have your own center. You have to have your own center of the universe. And you have to be accountable to that center. Now, if you find someone whose center is so well matched and aligned, going in the same direction, rather than manipulated by persuasion, conversation, or occupation, or ideation, or whatever you want to call it, psychology, well, then the parallel reality is no problem. Then it just is that way. Some people are that way, and they go forever that way. Independently related and parallel. Okay. But it's not about couples. It's about the universe. It's about all beings. It's not about your dream and fantasy of some kind of couple because your parents have what they consider to be an ideal fixed relationship, which may be good for some and hell for other peeps. I don't mean hell in terms of emotions, just no growth. Stuck, mud, casket, no growth. So there are a lot of beings here for no growth. They take the no growth option. Let's settle down to no growth, right? No evolution. Just stop. Stagnate for 50 years. And some thousands of years. Stagnate. Maybe millions. Maybe billions, but it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
And so would those relationships fall into what is called soulmates?
No, there's no such thing as that. It's a soulmate. I mean, you can use the term. It's kind of a glamorous term, but you're an individual. There's no such thing as a soulmate, except you feel a certain kind of resonance with somebody. But that means people who have affinities, everybody who you have affinities with some kind of soulmate, you want to make that because you're selfish. You want that, right? You want a clone, right? To mirror you, to be like you, to suffer like you, right? To smell like you, to eat like you, right? And I won't go on with that list. Right? To be a you, right? Right? And so that's the ego creates that. The self creates that. Again, something that happens by itself that's parallel. It's got none of that in it that is a force. There's no ownership, see, for the reality. The love we're talking about is ownershipless love. No ownership, just free, in a sense, open. Okay. Not this kind of kitchen created, manufactured, cooked up, plate of who knows what. And that's what it is. Right? Frankensteinian in nature. Right? You're going to be like me, and we're going to live happily ever after in eternity. Right? Like me. Horror movie. Right? Just like me. Greatest horror movie in the world. Yeah. Comment?
What about conditions where people are different and that's the source of attraction?
Oh, different is good, but different is also hell as well as a heaven. And that's because time plays into this mix. Time. And resonance and sympathy, right? All play into this mix. People change and they grow. Others don't. When one grows to a certain degree, where they can't stand not growing, they have to go. If you can't grow, you go. That's it. Because growth is more important, learning is more important for the soul than stagnation. Now, some people are in stagnant situations because they're afraid. Their images are wrapped up in what they're stuck in. That's a sad case. That's a form of hell. Darkness. Not bad, but there's no growth there. Where's the excitement there? Where's the renewal there? Where's the enlightenment there? See? Where's the genius in that? Where's the spirit in that? What, retired? What, age 25, retired? The spirit in a box in the closet somewhere? Because now we're just going to look at each other and love each other's looks forever. It's just you and me. No, it's really just me and me. The fact is it's just a me. And what me likes to look at. And what me wants to keep as itself in another being. So stuckness. So it's a marriage in the mud, in a sense. But people are free to do that because ultimately it's a step in the right direction. It's just another step.
And so what about the idea of devotion within a couple's context?
That arises in families too. People are devoted to one another. I think that's a step along the path. And people are loyal that way. They say, that's fine. You want to be devoted to the other person. If that's your mission, that's, again, we're talking about parallel reality. So you don't have to do it, but say you do it. It is what it is. It's a step on the path. We're talking about games, however, playfully, where really we're talking about narcissism at its worst, where the other person's really a reflection of the other person. It's your reflection in a sense. They have no reality beyond your reflection. See? And when they're chiseled and made into that, and convinced to be that alone, then we're talking about a whole other program here. See? But there are relations that are created of devotion, that goes even beyond this life, where people are devoted to other people. And that's a step on the path.
And would that fit the concept of a soulmate, that kind of devotion?
You can add soulmate to anything. I don't use that concept because it's like it's an imaginary idea. See, good friends could be soulmates. You and your dog could be soulmates. You and your parakeet could be soulmates. How you doing, sweet? Yeah, you can make a soulmate out of anything you want, even your socks. Yeah, made it just for you. Yeah, that's self-created. We're talking about self-creation. We're not talking about anything beyond that. Now, I mean, there are different standards for whatever soulmate is. And so we can say, in a manner of speaking, generally speaking, if soul is awareness, and people are mated, that means in configurations where they're working together, they're in awareness, see? You would call it an affinity of awareness, similarity of awareness, certain kind of complementariness of awareness. Sometimes an opposition of awareness is more like what it could be in some cases, as a soul mate, say, companion. Because that's the catalyst you may need to activate your forces. And so we're seeing that also as part of it. A lot of people go into concentration camps or been put away in war, and they find themselves. Just as I had tremendous awakening in the military. People find that hard to believe, but it can happen anywhere. Believe it happen in the grocery store. It doesn't matter where it happens, what the conditions are. See, under stressful conditions, you can break open. You can start to see what the real is for yourself. And that's what we're talking about. So sometimes family creates that pressure cooking situation where you say, yeah, I'm out of here. And a lot of people leave their families, not because they don't love their peeps, because they are called to go to the next level. When you're called to go to the next level, you better go. And you know you have to go. It's already done. That's like when the mothership comes, you know, and they come for you, they knock on your door. And you look and you don't see anybody you recognize. But they got your number, they're calling on you, and the ship's out there humming sweetly. And you go.
And so it would seem under some conditions it's appropriate to, let's say, suffer another person's problems with them. And
Of course, this is part of it. That's why I would say it's a step on the path. See, when you're in a situation where you know there's nowhere else to be, and you want to go with that as long as you can, and then realize, well, is this helping you? It depends on the individual's understanding, first and foremost, whether or not they're here for liberation, creative liberation, expression, and or just bondage, for the sake of bondage. Some people are just here for bondage. And I've been told by them, say, I don't care who it is, I just need somebody, just somebody to love in their mind. Doesn't have to be who it is. It could be anybody. I just need somebody to love. Could be a dog, again, could be an animal, which is a being, a friend. Not to degrade the status of animals, maybe even more dignified than a human. And maybe that's where they find their dignity in the animals they have. Because they don't find dignity in themselves or in other beings. And this is also part of it. So it's a step on the path. And by a step, is that then you need to know when to step off. And if you're so afraid of changing that you can't step off, then you have to go with where that goes. And it's like nowhere, particularly. to catch up with your potential at some point in the future, if there is a future for you. That means inevitably. But to just create a relationship so that then you feel that you're complete and you're stuck in the mud is only that. Your completion is being stuck in the mud. And then there are these kinds of relationships where you keep saying no to the person, you keep fighting with the person, and they're going to stay around for a time. Get rid of them. Get out. Stop. and they don't change. Yeah. And that's true in the families too. Between warring factions in the family, feuding factions in the family. They need each other. See? To vent what they have in each other that needs to be purified in some way, released. It's the same with international conflicts. They need each other. The United States fights what? Because it just likes to? No, it needs it. War. Needs it. See? It's in its soul to fight. It's a warrior nation. It's in its soul to fight for a cause. See? Motivate everybody to the cause of war. To defend the nation, to defend the kingdom. To defend, whatever it is, homeland. All of this is part of it. It's built into everybody. We are warriors when we have to be. We don't have to be gun-toting warriors, but all we need is the right triggering, and then the warrior shows up, right? The horns come out, the beak comes out, and we are back to Tyrannosaurus Rexes, right? On cue. Cued up properly. We become the animals we are, or cued up properly, we become the angels we are. And so practice is about focusing a little bit more on the angelic, not just the relational, physical, emotional, the ooey gooey stage of what it is, right? The soppy, the soggy, kind of like mud stage of it. Did that strike a chord in you or something? Yes. I was afraid of that. Yeah. No, it's more than that. See, we're talking about the heart resonance and heart radiance and intelligence, the inner, the angelic, the more higher spirited nature that each one of us has, and we experience from time to time. The clearness where there's no fight, there's nobody to fight with, and no fight is worth it. It's done. No fight is worth the aggravation. It's kind of like the monastic condition, where you're sitting and practicing and living in such a way where you just burn out. You burn up all this aggression in yourself, right? People too full of aggression already. And you don't need to fight anymore. It's not a cowardice. No, the cowardice is caving into the fighting instead of declaring war on your BS and making yourself a better person, a more healed person, so you can bring the healed self to other people. Right? So you really have something to offer, not just your favorite sex object, your partner and such, but you bring to humanity. So when you choose a sex partner over humanity, you might be cutting your resources and your potential short. So we're here to be servants of humanity. If we come from or relate to a higher principle, then that's what we're supposed to be. Not just family peeps. That's just one thing that we can do. See, that's one of many things we're here to do. There's a ladder. And how do you deal with the cosmic? See, well, you're not part of the cosmic, eh? Oh, okay. Send that ship away. Not ready for that. I'm still here in the primitive stage. I'm here in the caveman stage. I like being a caveman, man. What's wrong with being a caveman, eh? I love it. Go ahead.
So can service to a partner be part of service to all beings?
Well, only in the very basic and most preliminary way, yeah. Service to a person is a learning ground, let's say. It's a starting point. But the evolution is there. One person. Is that the only person that needs help? Where's your intelligence? All beings need help. So what are you going to do? Just be the one person because that's all your intelligence can handle? Well, then that's where you are. So sure, if you make another person happy, that's, we can say by association. You know, pleasing another person, which again is like, how are you pleasing them? What, putting them to bed? You're pleasing the world by putting somebody to bed? Taking them to the toilet? This is my service to humanity. I'm taking it to the can now. Okay. All right, so you need a bigger sense of what the reality is, not to put anything down. I mean, everything is a step on the path. Every phase is part of it. Some people have to repeat these phases. Some women and some men for the life of them. And they go from relationship to relationship and it's the same thing happening. Different phases, same karma. So then it's a lesson and a learning what the karma is. Otherwise you're going to find another person at your karmic level to bring you the same karmic lessons for you to master and get beyond. So this is not rocket science. It's common sense. So you need to study the karmic implications of the people you're involved in and what you guys are exchanging and what your vision is. Is it self, let's say, centered, or is it visionary in nature? Mm-hmm.
And so if people are spiritually minded, can a relationship serve to support each other's practice in that sense? And
of course. Yeah, of course. Then we're talking about respect and dignity. That you're actually, a spiritual being in a physical body on the earth plane, and you're here to take care of that and be responsible for that. Your spiritual perceptics, your inner life, whether you want to say it's religious relative to a certain kind of sect, or denomination, or whatever it is, or system. It doesn't matter. I mean, that doesn't matter. Your relationship to the source is absolute. It's perfect all the time. It never changes. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't change. It is what it is. And then if you have a person that's going to help you cultivate that, we'd say jolly good. That's what we would call a friend, whether you want to call it the ideal soulmate or whatever label you want to use. No, it's just a person being a friend who understands what your need is, and that's the practice. That means come to peace and be peaceful, be centered, be healthy. See, that's what come to peace means, being healthy. And being capable of doing your job, and having a game plan that you fulfill out here for the sake of yourself, your family, or society. Maybe mankind, if you can get to that level.
And so in that sense, is let's say, spiritually based relationship one that becomes more impersonal?
As the heart awakens, it becomes impersonal. You enter a state of love, not loving of somebody, but being capable of loving everybody. So we're talking about heart expansion. And this is an evolutionary process. Growth. You start from the, conception, and you expand into the universe. So that's another stage on the path. And I would even venture to say, because I've heard a lot of discussions about the different kinds of ways, the different vehicles. And you have what is called the self-realization vehicle, and then you have the other realization vehicle, and you have neither vehicle. It seems to me that you can go through all of those and then come back to the first and always be there. Because once you get to the ultimate realization, everybody's already taken care of. Everything is already perfect, so it doesn't need you. You're not needed anymore. So there is no more other. There's no more self and there's no more other. Nobody needs anything at that point. In a sense, this is kind of like an ideal vision of it. Everything is taken care of. Everything is perfect. And in fact, it would have to be that way, actually. And yet, we're still here, and we are part of the everything, so that's also perfect. And then when we leave, nothing changes. See?
So,
Everything goes on. Everybody's left and everything goes on. Go ahead.
so in the sense of having a impersonal relationship, in that spiritual sense, it would seem it becomes more about,
An impersonal relationship can be just as loving as it's the same thing. It's just impersonal. You know, boom, don't take it personally, honey. It's not personal. And yet, if it's impersonal in the sense that we're talking about heart expansion, then you know exactly what the person's feeling and what it is that you're doing, because it's conscious. See? And at that level of heart expansion, you don't want to hurt anybody, because that's your hurt. What you do to somebody else is going to be happening to you. You feel it, because you are it. What you do is what you are. And so you're going to back up from that and say, I don't want to be hurting myself, man. I don't need to feel that pain. So naturally, you're not going to perpetrate pain on somebody else in a sense, unless you absolutely have to, because you have to feel it for some lesson or some purpose. See, as in the case of raising children, you have to be severe with them at times. Otherwise, if you're not severe with your children, something else will be in your place, and it may happen at a time where it would be disastrous to you. So, fess up and do the severity training as early as possible, so that your children are equipped with severity experience when the time comes. And then they can come back and thank you for whatever the severity was that they learned first at home with mom and dad or whoever's in charge of them. And then they can go on to be better peeps, right? Yes.
so then as a relationship develops along spiritual lines, it would seem to be less about emotion, more about creating the right conditions conducive for growth.
Well, it's not about your stinking emotions, okay? Right. Your stinking, childish, sort of like retarded emotions, in a manner of speaking. Regressive emotions. You know, I'm your baby. You know, relationships that produce this kind of, you know, what is the word? Dysfunctionality, right? By means of regression, egoic regression. I mean, that's for who? Who needs that? See? And so that is also what goes on as a step for some peeps. See? Well, you want to go back to your childhood. You have a relationship. Well, my mother didn't do this for me. Can you do this for me? Because my daddy didn't do this for me. But can you do this for me? So I fulfill that, right? You know, I'm really not talking about that stage of mental disability, let's say. Okay. So the mentally disabled have to go that path. And you can have a relationship that can make you mentally disabled, because the relationship is regressive by nature anyway. Sexual communion is regressing back to the Stone Age. You're an animal. You may be even less than an animal. You're just big living hunk of slime. Primordial goo. Right, that's you, the goo, Mr. Goo. I would call you Mr. More Goo. Yeah, and so if that's what the theater of relationship is about, so you have someone to do the ooey gooey with for the rest of your life, I'm not sure there's anything there to speak about relative to spiritual progression, actually. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure it's a step on the path, maybe a step off the path. But for some, it may be that step on the path, where you got to go backwards to go forward. And so openness means, yeah, everything's included in it. It's all good then, in a manner of speaking, because you got to go through it. See, the worst and the best, it's all good, because we're already beyond all of it. See, we're already part of it. And we have to move through more of it. That's why we're here.
So it would seem that emotion could be put to rest, let's say, creatively within a relationship, finding out that served its function and creating a new basis, let's say.
Well, listen, we are not burning emotion. Emotion is not the problem. Sex is not the problem. Marriage is not the problem. The self is a problem, right? The limiting function of intelligence. Selfishness is a problem. Self-serving, right? Egotism. That's completely insensitive and completely out of touch with, unsympathetic to our other peeps. It's just self, 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 self. I don't care what you feel like, it's just about myself. That kind of uncompassionate, incompassionate sort of selfishness is the problem out here. And not very much good can come from that. And you can keep going down and down and down, even more so, extremely deeply into darkness, and bring unhappiness. Find unhappiness, because you're never happy in that place. That's not happiness. Desire at that mechanical level of intensity, needing more and more and more and more and more, is pure slavery. It's darkness, it's hell. You're never happy, because you're never with enough. So you're never happy. There's no contentment there, obviously. It's crazy. Purely neurotic suffering, anxieties. Suffering is pure suffering. So trimming that off, your agenda as a relative of, say, your partner, whoever it may be, say, no, we need to calm that down. We need more relationship. See, we need less of a personal relationship, more of an impersonal relationship. We need more of an enlightened, I think that's a good, say, poetic word for it. We need an enlightened relationship that is also loving and compassionate, considerate, say, kind, say, but conscious and scientific at the same time, and kick butt at the same time. Okay, now it's time for you to get the hell out of here. And I love you, but get the hell out of here. Right. Yeah. Keep rolling. That kind of impersonal, which means best for everybody, not just yourself, see, but best for all concerned. And the openness to whatever it is, I think makes for a better, more balanced and impersonal relationship. Very workable relationship, productive relationship. Whereas, petty stuff does not play that much of a factor in it. You grow up, you're no longer a kid. Personal means really like childish. I think the implication, oh, so personal. See? Whining. See? Yeah, it's very, very obvious. See? Impersonal, yes. Stronger, mature, right? Grown up, can handle more than you did as a kid. Yeah, expanding your heart and your intelligence. I think that's more impersonal. You assume something of a cosmic sort of sense of things. Intellectually, it's more cosmic. Say, yeah, I'm not going to take my culture personally. I'm into the knowledge of the world. Impersonal. I'm not going to take the music of my culture personally because I'm into the music of the universe. Impersonal. Not less personal, just impersonal. That means just conscious, universal, bigger. And that's very personal in a sense. That's very much what we are. We're the universe. So it's ultra-personal, impersonal. Then it just is what it is. It's not person at all. There's no person then. It's just conscious.